about Apple Maps. Might be an interesting discussion.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, why don't we talk about Apple Maps now? Just like on the intro bit,
In the pre-show.
because yeah, in the pre-show, I mean, I know it's relevant to the
To local search.
to local search that we're going to get into. Absolutely.
Yep.
We're going to get into it in six and a
Six
half
and a half
minutes.
minutes.
All right.
So what was interesting for me, so over the weekend for a client, I set up Apple Maps for them, because it started as a way to get like another citation for them, right? So it's
Yep.
like, all right, when I get another citation, Apple Maps, let's go in and do it. And I'm relatively new to Apple Maps. I was like, all right, let's just try it and see what happens. Long story short, we actually tried to set it up like back when COVID was starting, and then I think because of COVID, the whole thing just like didn't go through, didn't get approved. Revisited it, got it approved, got it up, and then when I was actually looking at Apple Maps, I was searching for like a non-branded keyword, and what was interesting for me to see was there wasn't a lot of competition that came up. Like in Google Maps, there's like entry after entry after entry after entry of all the different competitors. On Apple Maps, there was only 4 of them.
That's
in total.
Fascinating.
Right. So the competition was way, 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 way lower. Now that may be reflective that not nearly as many people use Apple Maps, so people don't see the urgency of it. But here's the part that frustrated me, because Brent, I'm a bit of a data nerd, and I love tracking, and I love UTM parameters, and I love to know, okay, did people come from Facebook? Did they come from Google? Did they come from Google Maps? Like whatever.
How'd you at UTM?
Apple Maps does not allow UTM parameters.
What?
I tried to include it in the URL, and Apple Maps straight up rejected it. They're like, you cannot, I forget the exact error that they gave, but it's like, you cannot submit this URL. We do not recognize it. And then I deleted the UTMs, resubmitted it, and everything was fine. I was doing a bit of research. I pulled up some forums, and this is a known issue. So I was reading through a forum of people trying to find ways to like get around it and set up like redirects and things like this, or create like a dedicated landing page just for people coming from Apple Maps, so that you could track, okay, all the people who landed on that page, they came from Apple Maps. So all this kind of workarounds. In the end, I felt like it was too confusing and too much work, so I didn't end up doing it. But I thought that would be a really interesting thing to be able to tease that apart and be able to look at it. Okay, on one hand, Apple Maps is an important map service that especially everybody with an iPhone, there's a good chance they're going to be using it. My initial research showed there's not a lot of competition there, or at least not nearly as much competition as Google. So it'd be really interesting to see, okay, what does that equate to in terms of number of people coming to visit your site, making bookings? But I haven't been able to figure out that last piece of how to actually track the number of people coming from Apple Maps, and it makes me angry.
All right, so
these are the kinds of things that make me angry.
Okay, so I got a lot of stuff to say about Apple, and I'd actually be very curious if Apple Maps is actually a decent product now, because I haven't had an iPhone for quite some time. And one of the things that frustrated me the most, and I get it, Apple is always going to be philosophically a closed system as much as possible.
Proprietary
plugs. I know they're onto USB-C, but plugs, proprietary. I mean, it goes way back to the early days in 1984 when the Mac was set up so that you could not expand it. It was more important for the visuals. You can't repair it. You can't say, I want more RAM and stuff like that, right? Which was the opposite of PC, which was very much open and the way the internet
plug and play.
So, yeah. And so Apple's been so tremendously successful with a closed system. iTunes is a closed system. It's very hard to get your stuff like to the point where to the point where, my favorite one is on your keyboard, your little notch is on F and J, and all the keyboards in the world, the little notch was on F and J. On Apple, the notch was on D and K, so that you feel weird when you go from an Apple Mac to a PC and you say, I don't like it.
Do you know when they changed that? Because mine's F and J.
I know. They finally changed it. So
they finally caved.
They do know how. I don't think they caved. I'm not sure where it came from or how it changed. But one of the things that iPhones, I believe, just got announced that they were not going to force Apple Maps as your default. Not as your default. They were going to force it as every time you tapped on a address, it would load up Apple Maps no matter what. So yes, it's a big crowd and you want to optimize for that. 100%. You want to get your Apple Maps listing and all that type of stuff, because you tap on it, not only is it going to be by default, but in the past, you had no other choice except to go to Apple Maps. If you wanted to use Google Maps, for instance, because you thought it was better, and back then it was freaking better. When I was using Apple Maps, it would say, go here, and it would take me to the other side of the city. Completely, there's so much stuff where how horrible Apple Maps was. Maybe it's better. So anybody who's watching, please let us know.
If you have an update.
If you have an update on that. So, but you would have to copy the address, open up Google Maps, paste it in, and then use your Google Maps. So you just couldn't click and have it come up because it was a closed system. And the reason why Apple does a closed system, for many other reasons other than it's a great business model, is because it's also a quality assurance thing.
Control.
So they're making sure that it is going to be up to a certain level of quality, 9 seconds. And I don't disagree with it. It's great. It's a marketplace. I don't like it. I want to have a little bit more freedom with my stuff. But they've actually apparently had to change that, or are changing that, partially in response, I believe, because now, since they're so big and ubiquitous, especially in their app store, they're starting to be looked at in terms, especially the European Union, in terms of you kind of got a monopoly and we want you to do things differently. At the same time, because of the way they do things, they're like, we're all in on privacy, we're all in on security, and that's going to be where we're going for, because that's what we think our users need, versus a little bit more open with Google Chrome and all
right.
That stuff.
That's what distinguishes us from the Googles who steal all your data.
Yes, that's right.
And let's not even talk about TikTok.
Okay. Yes. All right, let's get going into our show, man.
You've tuned in to COVID Marketing with Brent Kobayashi and Arthur Tutt, the show to support small business not just to survive, but to thrive.
That's right. We are live with COVID Marketing episode number 75. This is the show that helps you not just survive, but thrive. Week daily at 11:11 Eastern Standard Time. If you have questions on marketing and business or whatever, let us know in the comments as we start this thing. This is going to be our musical episode. Okay, Arthur, you got that?
We singing?
We're singing. I am Brent Kobayashi, president of Kobayashi Zeitgeist. It is now going to be a Broadway musical all about local SEO. That's not bad, eh?
Ta-da!
Jazz hands. All right. And also with me is marketing person at the Kobayashi Zeitgeist, Arthur Tutt. So now, if you like what you see, if you want more musical, share this with your friends, subscribe, click the bell, do the jig, all the stuff that you need to do to always tune in, and make sure everybody else you know that needs to do their local SEO and all the other marketing stuff tunes in. All right.
I think we're off to a good start for a Monday.
We are off to a fantastic start for a month. Every start is a fantastic start.
Fantabulous.
I'm actually, you know what? That's got to be an Instagram quote. Every start is a good start. Oh, I'm writing that down. All right. You do the thing that we're going to talk about today. I'm writing down my Instagram.
The jazz hands?
Pearls of wisdom. Every start. Go on.
So today we're going to be continuing on with our 4-part series on the importance of local SEO for small businesses. Just a quick recap: local SEO, we're talking about like Google My Business, Google Maps. If you caught the pre-show, we're talking a little bit about Apple Maps, and how possibly to not look at them as competitors exactly, but as multiple opportunities to pursue.
Yep. So SEO is search engine optimization. So it's the search engine that people are using to find you. Local SEO is people that are looking to find somebody local. And how do
Locally.
you optimize your stuff so that you come out on top, people find you and buy from you?
And so last week we shared some thoughts on how to take your content and contribute to your local SEO results, including sharing mobile first content on your site that effectively references your location specific keywords and helps to support the local search intent of your prospective customers.
Yeah, so check it out. And today we're going to wrap up this 4-part series with a few important things you need to know on your site to ensure you are not working against yourself. So much of local SEO is actually just doing things a certain way. It's not even doing anything brilliant or this big content play that you have to do with regular SEO. It's actually just not getting in your own way.
Showing up.
Yeah. So
what is it? 80% of success is just showing up.
80%. Yes. So 80% of success with local SEO is doing things precisely. Actually 80% of local SEO, quite frankly, Arthur, is doing the basics.
Just showing up.
Yeah. Like you were just working on a hair salon client, recently, and they're like, nobody can find us. And we search and all this kind of stuff. And you're like, in less than a day, you did the basics and boom, they're all there.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, there's more to do still, but this is this is such low hanging fruit for so many businesses.
Yeah, and actually, that's probably worth just a quick recap on that, just at a high level what happened. So basically, the client they had 3 different hair salon locations, but when you searched for their brand name, when you searched for their salon in Google, only 2 of the locations would actually come up, and they were kind of scratching their heads and getting really frustrated. But like, we have a 3rd location, we have a business listing, like why is it not coming up? And I went in and I reviewed it, and basically what I realized is they didn't even really have their own brand name in their business profile. Right. Yeah. So there was no match. So basically Google couldn't understand from their profile what their business name actually was. So I made some relatively simple fixes. And then it took less than a week. That's the amazing thing for me too. It only took, it was less than a day for Google to update the names of the business names, and it took less than a week for a new location to actually show up on the map. And now when you search for their business name, they've got all 3 locations showing up on Google Maps. So now they actually exist. And to what I was saying before, which I was saying kind of in jest as a joke, but 80% of success is just showing up. So just the fact that they now actually show up in Google Maps is going to be huge for them. And now they've recently added a new feature so people can actually book online, and they're saying they're already getting online bookings.
This is awesome. Now, one of the things, actually, I'm just going to give you this is a quick business thing. So everybody just hold on a second. I realized that I think the one location that wasn't showing up is the one that's at Walpers Hotel, right? The hotel one. I just realized that while you were fixing that, you may have taken out Walpers. Did you take out Walpers?
It did.
Okay. So Walpers Hotel is like a very important landmark. So somewhere in the rest of the description and keyword and all the different stuff, bring it back in.
Right.
Because people will look for, something there because it's a wedding destination, which is one of the great things of being there. So sorry, everybody. We're conducting a little business right now.
Live feedback.
Yeah, yes. So make sure you do that. So
no, but that's a really good point. So, and I think just to speak more broadly to that point again, so that people that are looking for that specific landmark, this is again a great opportunity again for a client to then again show up again as another listing in the area.
100%. So say for instance, you have a store and you're at Scarborough Town Center and you people might actually search for hair salon at Scarborough Town Center. You want to help Google really connect the dots, especially Google, but Bing and everybody else, Apple Maps, but you really want them to help them connect the dots. So if you start putting that kind of stuff in your copy, that's going to really super support you, especially if you are embedded in a landmark. And a landmark could be a cross street. It could be a whole bunch of different things, especially if people think of it as a landmark.
Yeah.
All right.
And I think just quickly to wrap up that point, I think it brings up a good point that there's multiple different ways that somebody could search for your business. One way is they could be searching for your specific brand name if they know what your business is. The second way is they could be searching for the type of service that you offer. So for example, a hair salon. But the third option, like you said, could be the landmark. It could be the mall. People might just be searching the mall in general. And that might be an opportunity, again, for your business to come up.
So this is a perfect segue. Actually, we're already in it. So for week 4, we want to make sure you are referencing your location. So make sure you're using the right keywords. So the landmark is one of the right keywords for you to use. Ensure your location is on key pages. Like we're going to cover this. Your location is on key pages throughout your site, the footer, the contact us, about us, etc. And we're going to also talk about integrating schema code, specifically geographic markup code. Sounds sexy for you, I know, because you are the UTM code kind of guy. All right.
Nerd out on it. So a quick recap on NAP, or name address, name, address, phone number, and just the importance of that. So making sure your business name, your address, and your phone number are consistent everywhere you put them. So whether it's on your website, whether it's on Google My Business, whether it's on Apple Maps, whether it's on Bing Places, whether it's in Yelp, the Yellow Pages, wherever you're listing your business, to have the same name, address, and phone number exactly the same across all of them.
Yep. And just remember, your website, how it shows up on your website is the master that you copy and paste when you're submitting to other directories. Covered that last week, but just want to make sure you got that.
So to get into some new suggestions for today, basically we're going to take this kind of the next level of like, where can you highlight this information, right? So if we're talking about your address, put it in the footer of your website, right? And so if it's on the footer, every page on your website is going to have that same footer. So it's going to show up everywhere.
Yeah.
Similarly,
small detail, but it's important for websites, for search engines to actually get it.
Yeah, so you can have it in your footer. You can have it in the contact page, because again, that's a place where people are specifically going to be looking for your information. Possibly even also the About Us page as well is another place to put it. Really just anywhere that you can put it that makes sense, as long as it doesn't feel like you're keyword stuffing.
Gotcha. Address stuffing. All right, cool. Next.
Creating dedicated pages for your products and services rather than housing them together on one page. And so your local SEO power is much more significant if you break out services pages, because in the search engine's eyes, this contributes to great authority, helping your overall ranking. So
it's one of the things, it's also usually good as a user experience. I would actually rank user experience above this. So if you basically have a single page where it says, we do cosmetics, one page, nothing else. We do so you don't want to do that type of thing. So if you list a whole bunch of services, that's cool. There are ways to, that's okay. But if you can have more information about each page, you can still list them on your homepage or list them on a services overview page, but then you can go into more in depth for each one and build them out. You're more in depth, maybe just pictures and photos, and a little bit of a description and what it means to be using that service at your place. But you really want to allow Google to say, they do this, and this is the page that tells me that they do this really well. And so you're really just sort of getting a computer understanding what's going on there.
And so the first example that came to my head here, and I don't know why dentistry keeps coming to my head here, but if you think of a dentist, right? A dentist offers a whole range of services, right? They'll offer braces, Invisalign,
orthodontics,
crowns. Just talk like we know about dentistry
hygiene,
here.
The whole bit. Yep.
And so for each of those different services to then build out a specific page, and that allows Google to give some search engine optimization to each of those specific services, and then bonus points if you can tie that into a location as well. So then you've got the service and the location.
Gotcha. Cool. And then tell us about location pages.
So location pages. So this is where you could, so again, if we go back to our hair salon example that had multiple different locations, what you can do is build out different location pages for each one specifically, right? And so one approach, so I know with with a Facebook business page, they actually allow you to have different sub pages for different locations. Within your website, you could have different sub pages for each different location. And possibly even if you were going to use, say, LinkedIn, could also possibly make different location pages for each location. Again, the idea is to make each location a distinct page so that Google can pick it up and say, this is that location.
And then start bringing that into your social content. So if you are over here and you happen to be in this, this wedding destination hotel, some of your social content can be about that wedding destination hotel type thing, so that now you got a correlation. You can actually even bring some of that forth onto your location specific page. So if we want to get a little bit more in depth with that, you could have a blog, which is actually tagged sometimes specifically towards that location specific page. And you can have that blog post, just the ones that are tagged towards that location, showing up and referenced on that location specific page. Those are some of the little bit more advanced stuff that you can do that allows you to really get Google understanding. Right, you are there. We need to be showing you for people in that area.
So
and you could actually even do posts right on Google My Business that are specific to that, not the general posts. You can do both, but specific to that location.
Yeah. So I've got a goodie that I want to share here, because I think this is something really powerful that's going to help a lot of people. I know we talk about name, address, phone number, and different location pages, and perhaps it can all sound a little bit confusing. And how do you kind of juggle all of that and keep it straight? So I actually want to share a tool here, because I think it's really powerful. People are going to like it.
All right.
So this is, once this loads up, this is Moz Local. And basically what this does, and it's a free tool.
Yeah. And for those who are listening to our podcast, at moz.com/product/local, or just Google Moz Local.
Moz Local. Yeah. And I've shared a link in our chat as well. But so it's a free tool. And so what you can do is you can get a free Get My Free Presence check. And basically what this does is it checks your business location, your business information, and it tells you how consistent are you across the web. And it doesn't go into every single possible citation, but it gives you the top 10, which is a great start. So, and also for us, we are very fortunate that we are in Canada. This service is only available in the US, Canada, UK. So for our friends in New Zealand and Australia and the rest of the world,
you just picked New Zealand and Australia because you lived there for a couple of years.
Well, I've got clients there. I was actually, little side tangent. I discovered this when I was in New Zealand, and I was so frustrated because I was like, I can't use this for my Kiwi clients.
Yeah. Actually, when this first came out, it was not Canada as well. I'm so happy when it became Canada. Right. I ended up using White Spark for that. Yeah.
Another good one.
Yeah.
But quite simply, just put in your business information, and I'll skip ahead because I already did the search. But once you do that, just do check now, and it goes through all the big ones. And so again, just because we love to eat our own medicine here on this show, and show that we are human after all too. So I've searched for Kobayashi to see how are we doing here, and it gives you a quick report to see how many of the assets you've hit. You can see we've got 38% missing, so we've got a bit of work here. But what it does is it breaks down the different directories. So Google search, so this is going to be your website. So what this is saying is Moz looked at our website. They're like, yeah, all right, you're Kobayashi and Zeitgeist Marketing Agency. Great. You've got your address, you've got your phone number. Boom, everything checks out. Google Maps or Google My Business, again, everything matches up. Now on Bing, and I got to be honest, I didn't know we had a Bing profile here. But on Bing, we are Kobayashi Online. And so again, this is what I'm talking about, name, address, phone number being consistent. So Kobayashi Online does not match with Kobayashi and Zeitgeist Marketing Agency, right? Facebook, everything matches up great. However, Foursquare and NavMe, we don't have a listing, so that's a place for more listings.
Now, you know what's interesting, and this goes to your point. We do have a listing on Foursquare. If you were to go back and just call it either Kobayashi Zeitgeist or Kobayashi Online, it would actually find Foursquare.
Okay, so
Right.
there is a
So-
profile, but it's out of date.
It's out of date. It's not referencing it. And so it's probably in many cases not giving us the SEO juice that we want it to.
Exactly. And so similar here with Hot Frog, we have on a Hot Frog, but again, the name is
It's
not
going
matching up.
to the wrong website address. That's awesome.
So yeah, so again, this is a great example for ourselves of how we can get in, we can clean up our own profile here. But that's the idea, is that across all these major directories, you want them all to understand what's your business name, what's your address, and what's your phone number, and be the same across the board.
Got it. Okay. So next,
Location
what else should
specific.
what else should business owners be
keywords.
looking for on their site?
Let's talk about some location specific keywords.
Okay, good.
And we were kind
We
of
talked about it a bit. Yeah.
we were talking about this a little bit already, but the idea is basically then combining the location where you are, and that could be city level, it could be neighborhood level, it could be street level if the street is important. So, for example, we're here in Danforth Village, we're close to the beaches, we're not too
Mhm.
far from Leslieville. People also say like the Danforth.
So for us, I would use the Danforth. I probably wouldn't use Danforth Village too much because it's just not a brand that people are using. Right. And that's where you want to, or we would possibly even use the beaches because that's a brand people are using. So keep in mind that as much as your location specific keywords may be precise, they might not be what the audience is using.
Right. And so this is where actually using a keyword research tool can also be helpful too, to see what are people actually searching for.
All right. Like what you use Mangool?
Yeah, I think that's sort of like how, Google is actually owned by Alphabet, but everybody just says Google. So the keyword tool is just called like KW Finder, so keyword finder, but the parent company is like Mangools or something. I don't know what that
Mangool.
But that is a paid tool. I love it. I think it's a great tool. But for anybody who's looking for a free tool, there's the Google Keyword Planner tool, which you can get access to through your Google Ad account.
Okay. Now we're going to wrap up. There's one thing I want to talk about that's important to look into, ask your developer about especially, or possibly get a WordPress plugin or something else. And that is use what they call schema code for
It
your
sounds like
name.
like it's about to get nerdy, Brent.
It's going to get very nerdy here.
Nerd alert.
Yeah. So basically what schema code is it's a way of structuring data on your website so that machines can better understand it. So to give you an idea, if you have a paragraph of stuff, how does the machine know what is your company name, what are your hours, what are your what's your address, what is your main phone number,
reviews,
all that kind of stuff. And you can say, well, it's obvious, it's right there. Reviews, all sorts of different things. Well, people do it different ways. People write hours different ways. People do it in different orders.
Or if you think of phone numbers, sometimes people include like a country code. Sometimes they'll include like brackets. Sometimes they'll be hyphens.
And sure, the search engines work to figure all of that stuff up. But when you when you structure your data in a very specific way, following a specific model, whether it's visual or visually represented with brackets or not, doesn't matter so much, then Google gets it. And Bing gets it, and they all get it. They say, oh, okay, I know exactly what you're talking about. This is your address. These are your hours of operations. These are your this is your whatever. So look up schema.org, look up schema plugin, look up to see if your Wix and Squarespace, I don't know if they do it, are implementing schema. And ask your developer to do this, especially if local search engine optimization is important to you. and you're a small business, and if you got this far on the show, it probably is somewhat important to you, or you'd like to know about it. You can run it through some tests, right? So I think my favorite test, I'm trying to remember which one's my favorite test. If you Google Google schema or Google structured, what is it? Google structured data testing tool. So if you Google, in quote, or just Google structured data testing tool. I hate Google's a verb and a thing. Then you will find a testing tool that you can put in your website or put in the page where your address is, and you can see, is my address set up for schema? Okay, so that's just one thing that I wanted you to check into, because again, these are the basics. And since nobody else is doing the basics, or a lot fewer people are doing the basics, I think the number is like, I don't know, 80% of the people aren't. I can't remember the stats, but they're like huge. People that even haven't claimed their Google My Business page.
Yeah. Okay.
So
that's why I was saying like 80% of success is just showing up. I think people feel like there's this really high bar that they have to achieve, and you find a lot of the time it's a fairly low barrier to entry. You just have to do it.
Cool. So just do it. Okay, we're going to end with that.
Just do it.
Yeah, I just do it. So there's a lot of other stuff we want to talk about this. I think we might go into a fifth episode, because there's some stuff that we didn't get to today, but that's, I think, cool for today. And then we'll get into more of this, because I still want to dig into this a little bit more, because it's so important.
Okay.
Okay.
Do we know what we're doing tomorrow then? Are we going to have a little mystery meet again?
I think we might have a mystery meet. Okay. I'm going to go into the outro, and I'll talk a little bit tomorrow and stuff like that. All right. Okay, cool. Oh, hold on. This I know you were sharing, and there.
I was sharing. I stole sharing privileges.
Yes. And don't call me Sharon. That's from Airplane.
Don't call me Shirley.
Yeah, Shirley. Surely you didn't mean to say that. I did mean to say that.
You've tuned in to COVID Marketing
Don't call me Shirley.
with Brent Kobayashi and Arthur Touch, the show to support small business not just to survive, but to thrive.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us on COVID Marketing episode number 75, as we dug further into local search engine optimization. We still have a lot more to cover on this, so we're going to return next Monday to finish this up. And then we'll get into a new series for our Monday small business bit. Tomorrow, we are going to, actually, we don't know right now. We had a special guest that was coming on. That's not quite working out, so no problem. We are going to either have another special guest, or we're going to get into a smorgasbord mystery meet, answers from questions that people have been asking us. We do have some more of those, and do more marketing stuff for small businesses to get you surviving, get you thriving. We probably will not be returning to the musical bit, at least for a while, because I'm all out of ideas. That was it. That was the extent of my showbiz notes that I have in my head.
Well, I was going to say, speaking of thriving, I want to give a really, really, really big shout out to Patricia, who's saying you guys are the best. Big thank you to Nina, who's saying good stuff.
Nina,
and
thank you for joining us.
David Blackmore, hashtag Google gets it.
Yeah, Google gets it all. At least there are a lot of huge companies that are really vying to get it all. It's going to be super interesting to see how the next 10 years play out, as consolidation reaps massive rewards. And yet the cost of entry is pretty low from a technical perspective, but maybe pretty high from am I going to be copied and wiped off the face of the earth perspective? really interesting to see how things go on and play out right now. Super, super fascinating. All right. And
Let's cut it.
let's cut it. Thanks very much, everybody.